Have you ever wondered what lies beyond death? What if I told you that a woman died for 8 minutes and came back with a message directly from Jesus, warning about 4 devastating events that will happen in July 2025? Today you will hear the terrifying story of Abigail Monroe, an American nurse who saw with her own eyes the great distraction, the alien deception, the persecution, and the final judgment, all scheduled to begin in July. Don't leave the video. Leave your like right now to help this message reach further. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any alerts like this. And take the opportunity to write in the comments which city you are watching us from, so we know how far this warning will echo. My name is Abigail Monroe. I was 38 years old. I was a nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, until the day I died for 8 minutes and was ripped away from everything I thought was real. I never believed in anything supernatural. I prayed when I was a child. But then, life happened. 12-hour shifts. 2 children, an abusive ex-husband. I had no time for mysticism. On March 17, 2024, I was at work. I felt an excruciating pain in my chest. I tried to breathe but couldn't. Within seconds, I fell to the hospital floor. Colleagues tried to revive me. I saw a friend's face yelling "Code Blue," but the sound was already a distant echo. And then, nothing. But at the same time, everything. It was as if I opened my eyes in a place with no roof. No floor, a plain of living, white, pulsating mist. The air was liquid light. I felt no pain, no weight. I was not a body. I was consciousness. A warm breeze passed through me like a hug. Suddenly, I wasn't alone. I saw him. He was not a man with a beard like in the stained glass windows. He was a pure presence, more solid than stone, but made of light. When he looked at me, I felt ashamed of every lie, every resentment, every blasphemy. I tried to speak, but I had no mouth. Yet he heard my silent cry, "Please don't send me away." The answer did not come in words. It was a vibration in the soul. "Daughter, listen. July has been set." July. The word sounded like thunder. The mist parted like curtains, and I was sucked into a vision that didn't feel like a vision. It was more real than anything I'd ever touched. The first scene, a sky cracking like black glass. A red rift snaked through the clouds. Below, I saw cities: New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, all swallowed up in gray smoke. People screamed without sound, staring at their phones like zombies. Influencers laughed as the ground cracked. Children watched violent cartoons. Churches were empty. Stadiums were packed with preachers selling empty promises. And then I heard his voice, clear as broken crystal. "This is the great distraction. July will be the clarion call. Whoever does not wake up before will never wake up again." I begged without speaking. "Why? Why do you show me this?" He came closer. His eyes were 2 suns, but there was sadness in them. "Because almost no one wants to hear it. But you'll see." When he reached out to me, I felt my soul explode to another place. I blinked, if I even had eyelids left, and was thrown into another scenario. It was an endless desert. The cracked ground looked like open wounds. The wind burned my non-existent skin, and in the sky, an artificial aurora danced in poisonous colors. Suddenly, lights appeared on the horizon. They looked like ships, but not like the ones I'd seen in movies. These ones didn't fly, they floated, as if they ignored time and gravity. They bent the air around them. A crowd ran towards them. People cried, shouted, "They came to save us." Then they appeared, tall, handsome, with skin like living marble. Their eyes were pools of blue and gold light. Voices like hypnotic music said, "We are your brothers. We came to heal, unite, evolve." I saw politicians embracing them. I saw priests and pastors falling to their knees, saying, "They are the promised angels." I saw churches ripping down crosses to hang strange symbols, spirals, eyes, interlocking circles. Children in classrooms were taught that Jesus was just one among the cosmic teachers. And then I heard it again, as if the sky spoke. "They are not mine." The pain in his voice made me tremble. I cried without tears. "In July they will reveal themselves. Many even of my people will be deceived. Even the chosen ones will falter." I wanted to cover my ears, but I had no ears. The scene changed. I saw a man on a platform, broadcast to billions on the internet. He smiled with perfect teeth and said, "July 2025 will mark the birth of a new humanity." But when the image froze, I saw his eyes go coal black. and for a split second, I saw the thing behind him, a living shadow, a chasm with teeth. I screamed without sound. "Sir, no, stop, please." But he answered firmly, "You need to see everything. You need to warn." At that moment, the desert floor opened like a mouth, and I fell. I fell for an incalculable amount of time. It was like falling inside myself, until I stopped. My feet were on something that looked like black glass, so smooth that it reflected nothingness. There were no walls around me, just a pulsating void, and yet I felt thousands of eyes staring at me. Then light appeared, but it was not his light. It was cold, impersonal, anesthetic, and this light revealed what was around me. People in endless lines, millions, billions, all naked in soul, not in body. Each one held a device in their hands, cell phones, tablets, something that seemed to be implanted in their skin. They were mesmerized. The screens displayed soft messages. In July, liberation. In July, unification. In July, rise. But behind the glowing letters, I saw distorted faces, mouths opening in fanged laughter. I turned around and saw temples standing on gray concrete, but there were no crosses, there were no altars, there were illuminated thrones, with those same bright-eyed beings dispensing light like spiritual peddlers, and the people knelt. I heard chants, but they were not hymns. They were incantations, words that sounded sweet but crawled like snakes. I wanted to run away, but I was trapped, forced to watch. Then I felt his presence again. He wasn't there, Leaf, but his voice cut me like a sword. July will be the choice. There will be no more excuses. The words seemed to burn fire into my essence. They will have to choose, the truth or the lie that dresses in light. Those creatures on the thrones began to speak to the people. Their voices multiplied, sounding in every language. Embrace interplanetary brotherhood. Reject the old dogmas. Jesus was just the first of us. In the crowd I saw priests, pastors, rabbis, imams, all smiling, embracing, proclaiming, "Behold, the unification we have been waiting for has arrived." I started screaming, "No, they're not his. They're not his." But nobody listened. They just looked at the screens, at the thrones, at the wrong light. Then I heard, in an almost sad tone, "In July, the veil will be torn, the deception will be total, and the separation will begin." The glass floor shattered like thin ice. I fell again, and when I fell, I felt fear, not for myself, but for all of us. When my fall stopped, I found myself suspended in space. But it wasn't space as we knew it. It was a chasm between realities, filled with streams of liquid fire snaking through the void. Below me, the earth floated, blue, fragile, beautiful, but something was wrong. Huge red fissures cut through the continents like incandescent scars, and it was then that the visions began to overlap, like layers of painted glass. I saw cities in flames, protests turning into massacres, streets filled with soldiers in black uniforms, without flags. I saw tanks firing at crowds holding only signs with one name, Jesus. Blood painted the sidewalks. I tried to cover my eyes, but I had no hands. So I saw even more, families hiding in basements, praying quietly, afraid of being reported. Children asking, "Mom, are we going to die?" And the mother saying, "No, let's find him." Above them, I saw giant holograms projecting a single face, a world leader with a perfect smile. His eyes looked like they were made of liquid glass. July will mark the final evolution. Embrace the new light or remain in the darkness. People clapped. In another layer of vision, I saw once crowded churches now abandoned or transformed into cosmic meditation centers. I saw pastors saying, "The Bible was incomplete. We need to evolve spiritually to receive our stellar brothers." And in the corner, small groups, kneeling, reading pages torn from old Bibles, weeping. Above all this, like a roar, I heard his voice. They will exchange truth for lies, but July will be the dividing line. In July, the choice will be clear even to the blind. Suddenly, the fire from the fissures intensified. Explosions lit up oceans. I saw a map shaking, cracks opening across the United States. I saw flags burning, I saw armed men forcing families to renounce their faith or die, and I heard a law being read in a mechanical tone. Any speech that offends interplanetary entities or promotes religious exclusivity is prohibited. I felt like vomiting, but I had no stomach. I screamed in pure terror, "Sir, please, stop." And he answered, without hatred, but with a weight that broke my spirit, "I have not stopped warning, but now it remains for me to warn you. July will not be just a month, it will be the trumpet. Whoever does not believe before will see too much to deny." The earth exploded into light and darkness at the same time. I was swallowed by the brightness and dragged into the next vision, with no time to breathe, no chance to compose myself. The brightness blinded me. I had no eyelids to close, so it washed over me like a nuclear wave of glory. But it wasn't heat, it was knowledge. I was on my knees, but there was no floor. It was like being prostrate in the center of the universe, before him. And I saw a book floating, giant, with no cover, but with pages made of white fire. Living letters formed and faded like embers blown by the wind. It was the Book of Life, and when I looked at him, I felt everything inside me tear apart. Names appeared in white flames and faded to ash. Others appeared out of nowhere, written like lightning, and his voice, so close it seemed inside me. In July, the book will be opened in a way never before. The lines will be drawn. The separation will begin. I was shaking. Separation? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he showed me. I saw two fields forming over the earth. One was made of living light, as if stars had come down to live in humble homes. People sang softly. Children prayed. The sick were healed by hands worn out from so much work. The other field was of false gold, glittering towers, glass temples, congresses broadcast to the whole world. Men and women dressed as modern prophets spoke in velvet voices. In July, our ascension is complete. Reject backwardness. Embrace the new era. And I saw people running to these towers, singing soulless hymns, swearing allegiance to beings who changed shape when no one was looking. And when these beings spoke, their mouths smiled, but their eyes were black holes. I begged, why don't they see? Why don't they realize? The answer tore me apart. They don't want to see it. But in July, everyone will see it, and everyone will decide. I will force the revelation. The visions accelerated. I saw fake miracles, sick people being cured by alien technology. I saw implants being sold as passports to evolution. I saw preachers saying Jesus has already returned in spirit. He is in us, and in these brothers in space. I saw bonfires burning Bibles while crowds cheered, and in the background, a chorus of demonic voices whispered, July, July, July. It was as if the month itself had come to life, a being with 1,000 mouths shouting warnings that no one wanted to hear. I started crying without having tears, and for the first time, I felt something terrible. I didn't want to see anymore. I was broken, but he didn't let me rest. It's not over yet. There's more you need to witness. And with those words, reality tore itself apart once again. When reality tore apart, I was sucked in like a whirlpool. I felt like my soul was crushed between the gears of time. Suddenly, I was floating over a city I recognized. It was Washington, D.C., but it was unrecognizable, the capital in ruins. Black flags flying with symbols I didn't understand, interlocking circles with flaming eyes in the center. And all over the city, giant screens broadcast a message in every language. July 2025, unification is coming. Prepare to evolve. Thousands gathered, arms raised, reciting mantras. I heard them saying, we renounce the old religions. We accept our star brothers. We will be one. Then I saw soldiers, not just American, but as if they were a unified world force. No patriotic flags, just the symbol of the flaming eye. They dragged people into trucks. I saw Bibles being trampled underfoot, crucifixes ripped from walls and broken. I heard an officer shout through a megaphone, in July, the global law begins. No sectarian speech will be tolerated. A woman with a child in her arms was crying. The soldier pointed at her and shouted, Nurse, take her. I wanted to intervene. I shouted without sound, and then I was thrown to another corner of the city. I saw a cathedral transformed into a center of universal harmony. There was no cross on the altar. There was an empty throne, illuminated by beams of blue light. In front of the throne, a man spoke to the cameras. His face was too perfect, like a living statue. July will be our rebirth. Old beliefs have divided us. We are gods in the making. Surrender. The crowd applauded. They cried. They prostrated themselves. And I felt deep down that it wasn't just human madness. Something was behind those words. Something immense, ancient, hungry. Then his voice echoed, like thunder that split the spiritual sky. I warned you. From the beginning, I warned you. July will be the tearing of the veil. There will be no more masks. And with that sound, the layers of reality dissolved like smoke. For an instant, I found myself outside the earth, floating in the void, staring at the planet spinning with pulsing red wounds. And I saw currents of darkness trying to cover the entire earth. But in some places, lights pierced the darkness. Small, fragile, but pure. I understood. The lights were those who still resisted. They won't turn off all the lights, he said, but every light lit will cost blood. My spiritual insides turned over. I began to sob like a child. Sir, please take me. I don't want to see anything else. But he answered without hesitation, you haven't seen everything yet. And with that, I was swallowed up by the next vision. I was thrown like a piece of glass in a hurricane. When I stopped, I was in an open field, under a sky as black as burning oil. The air was so heavy I could barely think. It was an unnatural silence, as if the entire world was holding its breath. And then I heard the most horrible sound of my life, a bugle, but distorted, like torn metal. It echoed from all sides, reverberating in the ground and in the sky. The earth split open into fiery fissures. From within them emerged deformed creatures with too many mouths and eyes that wept blood. I saw crowds fleeing, running, tripping over each other, but there was nowhere to go. Some fell to their knees, begging for salvation, but not to God. They cried out to heaven, "Save us, our star brothers, help us." And then, as if on cue, blue lights descended, the same floating, silent ships. Out of them came shining beings, too beautiful to be human. They raised their hands, and as they did so, the monsters stopped. The people cheered, applauded, and cried with relief. The beings smiled, but the smiles were tears. They said in unison, "In July, you will have peace. Surrender. Renounce the old God." I saw men and women signing documents in blood. I saw children being marked with glowing symbols. I saw authorities saying on TV, "Don't be backward." In July, a new order is born. Participate or be left behind. The real churches were in ruins, used as warehouses. I have seen sold-out preachers saying, Jesus would support evolution, and at that moment, I saw the face of Jesus. He was there with me, not as a distant judge, but so close that I felt his heart. He cried. Yes, the Savior wept, but not from fear, from pain. July will be the birth, but it will also be the judgment. He whispered, the false light will shine brighter, and many will choose comfort over truth. I tried to beg, but only sobs came out. Show me something good, I groaned. He looked into my spiritual eyes and said something that sounded like a promise and a warning at the same time. Even in July, even when the world bows, I will have a people who will not bend the knee. At that moment, I saw small groups in caves, in cellars, in forests. They sang softly, but with fervor. The flame in them was brighter than the sun. I wanted to hug them. I wanted to be one of them. But before I could move, I was ripped from that vision like a living tooth being pulled, and I heard, "It's not over yet." And once again, I was swallowed by darkness. When I could see again, I was in a place with no ground or sky. It was a living nothingness, a breathing vacuum. And in that nothingness, images appeared like visions projected in smoke. I saw government rooms, men in ties with glass eyes. They didn't blink. They discussed maps, plans. On every paper, a date was circled in bright red, July 2025. I heard cold phrases. Global integration will be official. Religions will be unified. Resistance will be re-educated. Then the image changed. I saw schools, teachers smiling as they taught little children. The old gods have held us back. In July, we will free ourselves from the lies. I saw parents crying and hiding because they knew they couldn't talk. And then, a gigantic cathedral, but there was no cross. On the altar, A throne made of black crystal. Upon it, a being, tall, beautiful, crowned with blue light, but his eyes were holes of darkness. He opened his arms, and the crowd fell to their knees. In July, my era begins. People were screaming like fans at a concert. I even saw well-known preachers smiling, saying, "Finally, the promise has been fulfilled. He is here." But all around I saw dark figures, like living shadows, whispering in the ears of the people, "Surrender. You are free now." I wanted to cover my ears, but I had no body. I tried to close my eyes, but I had no eyelids. And then he appeared. Jesus. No more crying. Now there was fire in his eyes. July will not be just deception. It will be confrontation. I will let the masks fall. Suddenly the shadows twisted. I saw the beautiful being on the throne roar with a voice that cracked the walls. "They are mine." But Jesus answered, "Not all." Then I saw white flames lighting up in alleys, in humble houses, people praying, crying, laughing with joy, even though they knew they would be persecuted. Miracles happened in silence, the sick being cured, the dead being brought back to life without cameras, and his voice filled me. In July, I will separate the wheat from the chaff. Those who love me will not bow down. I sobbed, shaking. "But they will kill them," I said. He replied firmly, "Yes, but they will not die in vain." Suddenly the void was filled with light, so much light that it looked like a supernova. I felt myself burning, as if my spirit was molten metal. "It's not over yet," he said. "You will see the end." And before I could respond, I was pulled deeper. I was sucked into a whirlpool of screaming light and shadow. It was as if every demon in hell was howling my name. Suddenly, silence. I was in space, far from Earth. I saw the planet spinning serenely, but up close I noticed red cracks pulsing like inflamed veins. And then it happened. The sky around the Earth tore like a burning veil, a wound in the fabric of the cosmos. From that opening, a wild, living light poured like a river, but it was not a gentle light. It was a light that judged. I heard trumpets, real trumpets, 7 distinct blasts. Each one vibrated in my spirit as if it were tearing me to pieces. And his voice echoed, not as a whisper, but as a thunder that shook galaxies. "July will be the sound of the first step. The earth will hear my footsteps." The earth shook. Oceans rose like walls. Mountains collapsed. I saw cities sinking. I saw people running, screaming, "It's the end! It's the end!" But others, kneeling in open fields, raised their arms and shouted, "Maranatha! Come, Lord Jesus!" The crack in the sky widened until it became a huge portal. From within, I saw armies of flaming beings, armed with light. In front of them, Jesus on a horse of pure energy. His eyes were suns. His voice was law. He didn't need to speak. His presence screamed, "He arrives." I saw world leaders kneel, dropping their flags. I saw kings tear off their crowns and weep. I saw atheists trembling, saying, "He is real." But I saw others gnashing their teeth, cursing the sky. I saw the book of fire open in the air. The pages burned names. Others appeared with white fire. "July will be the beginning of the separation," he declared. "The harvest begins." I tried to shrink away. It was terrifying, but at the same time, it was fair. The earth seemed to split in two, one side lit by pure flames, the other swallowed by screaming darkness. I saw children being carried in the arms of angels. I saw bedridden old men rising and smiling. I saw people marked by the beast being swallowed by shadows. "They chose," he said, "and you saw, to warn." I sobbed. My essence hurt. I didn't want to see anything anymore, but he forced me to face it. "Look closely. In July, the veil will fall. Everyone will see who they serve. There will be no more excuses." The light grew so bright that it consumed me. I felt my soul shattering and rebuilding itself at the same time. I screamed, but there was no sound. And then everything exploded into absolute white. In the midst of the absolute white, I felt myself floating weightlessly. It was as if every molecule of my soul was exposed, naked before him. There were no more external visions, just me and him. His voice did not ring in my ears. It vibrated in the very fabric of who I was. "You saw. You can't say you didn't know." I trembled. I felt shame, terror, but also a strange peace. The peace of knowing that nothing would be hidden. I thought it was over, that I could finally rest. But then, as if tearing the very fabric of being. He spoke one last time. Each word seemed to set fire to my essence. July will be the milestone. The month has been marked in heaven. In July, the last call will begin, the final cry to wake up. In July, those who have ears will hear. Those who don't want to will no longer be able to say they didn't know. I saw before me a floating calendar. All the pages were flying like ashes in the wind, except one, July 2025. The letters were alive, pulsing like hearts. Each beat made a sound. Stupid, 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 like a war drum. I reached out to try to erase it, to tear away that vision, but my hand passed through the calendar like smoke, and he said, in July, the lie will become as obvious as the truth, but many will prefer the lie. In July, I will separate, I begged, sobbing. Please, let me stay here. I don't want to go back. He replied with something that mixed tenderness and a weight that I could barely bear. You have to let me know. You'll be back. The light around it began to pulse faster, stronger, as if the universe was having a heart attack. I felt pain, real pain, like my spirit was being sewn back into my mortal flesh. As I was sucked downward, I heard one last whisper from him, not threatening, but final. Tell them I am coming. Tell them July will not be like other Julys. Say that every choice will count. And then it all exploded. I felt my chest swell with heavy, toxic air. My eyes flew open, but they weren't seeing him. They were seeing the hospital ceiling. Screams, sirens, hands shaking me. But none of that mattered, because inside me, engraved like a red-hot iron, there was only one thing. July, July, July. As if the whole sky were screaming at the deaf earth, and I knew. I didn't come back to live. I came back to warn you. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.